What will it take for them to wake up? It's a question that I have asked myself thousands of times in the last 2 years. And it's a question that I've heard so many people ask on multiple occasions. Just what needs to happen for people to wake up? Now, this video that I'm going to do today is aimed at the clique of people who continue to hold to ransom everybody else in this country and across all countries in the world. The people who are not only tolerating this evil, but are actively propagating it, and in some cases, actively encouraging it. So, I'm doing this video, as ever, in the hope that I can shock just one person back to sanity and back to morality. So 2 years ago, nearly 2 years ago, when this tyranny first began, if you would have said to people that 2 years from that point, from March 2020, there will be the threat of a fourth lockdown in this country, ubiquitous mask wearing, social distancing, state-sponsored vaccine programme, complete with 3 and probably 4 boosters, and vaccine passports, and an endless, relentless stream of propaganda, would people have accepted that? I think we all know the answer to that question is no. They would have seen it as utter lunacy and not befitting a modern Western society. And yet here we are. How has it happened? Well, I'm going to use an example from history. I know a golden rule is to not automatically compare everything that happens to what happened under the Nazis in the Third Reich. However, I think we've got a fair comparison now, especially when we consider what is going on in Germany and Austria at the moment. So, how did the Nazis do what they did? How did a society that was intellectually, spiritually and morally quite free in the 1920s send millions of people to the gas chambers a matter of 10 to 15 years later? How was it done? How did the population turn on a subsection of society? Well, just like now, it was done slowly, surreptitiously, and to many, imperceptibly. Terrible things were normalised, and the population was asked to normalise evil one step at a time. Vilify the Jews, ostracise the Jews, remove the rights of the Jews, remove their fundamental right to be free and to run a business, terrorise the Jews, smash up the Jews' businesses, finally round up the Jews, put them in cattle trucks, send them to gas chambers to their death, or stick a bullet in the back of the head. It was successfully done because it was done over a long period of time using very, very carefully crafted propaganda and hypnotic messaging. And there's two major points I want to make regarding, and this doesn't just apply to the Nazis and the evil that they committed, but also to any totalitarian regime in history. But I'm going to use the Nazis because it's the most relatable example to most people. And as I say, there is a chilling rhyme going on right now in certain parts of Europe that should be the last places engaging in this totalitarianism. So, I think the first misreading of history that many people have, the Germans and the Austrians, they did know what was going on. There are some who say Hitler, Goebbels, Himmler were able to do what they did because people, the population, didn't know what they were doing. What a fundamentally flawed argument. The first concentration camps were set up in 1933. The euthanasia clinics, the mass rallies and the mass propaganda. As I say, Kristallnacht, the smashing up of Jewish businesses, it was all very, very overt. People did know. And also, the scale of what was done required the compliance of millions of people in order to achieve what it was that the Nazis wanted to achieve and did achieve. So those that say the German people didn't know what were going on are wrong. A second fallacy that people have about themselves, because they always would say they would have saved Anne Frank. They would have been hiding the Jews. They wouldn't have been a concentration camp guard at Auschwitz. No, of course not. Of course they wouldn't. Well, I think now we can look around us and we can see the people who definitely would have been the concentration camp guards, who would have been the soldiers loading the Jews onto the cattle trucks, who would have been the guard standing at the gates of the gas chambers, opening the door and pouring in the Zyklon B. We can now see that. There are many people who have a fundamental misreading of history and a fundamental misunderstanding of their own character, their own deeply flawed characters, and human nature itself. And yet this time, there is a massive difference with the tyranny and the evil that is taking place right now. There's a huge difference. And I'm going to tell you why. The people right now who are complying, propagating, endorsing this tyranny are worse than those Nazi enablers. Because right now, the flow of information is somewhat controlled, is mostly controlled, but it is not completely controlled. Unlike in the Third Reich, where the flow of information was 100% controlled. So people didn't have access to various different opinion, various different research, various different sources of information. They had only their intuition to rely on. Well, now we have our intuition and we have an almost unlimited source of alternative opinion from the mainstream. So in this age of information, ignorance really is a choice. Because try as they might, they cannot stop the flow of information. They cannot stop the truth, the ugly truth, from presenting itself, which it now is to all but the most willfully ignorant or willfully blind. And that is why the clique of people in my country and in countries across Europe and across the world who are enabling this to happen, the ones who are part of the government machinery, the government apparatus, they are worse than the Nazi enablers. They are worse than the people who sent the Jews to the death camps, to the gas chambers, worse than the people who stuck bullets in the back of their head. Because they know that they have a choice. They know there's another side to this story, but they're choosing to continue anyway. So if any of these people are watching this video, you should be ashamed of yourselves. And please be aware that when we win this war, history is going to utterly damn you and shame you for what you have done, for what you have enabled, for what you have accepted, for what you have tolerated. But one last thing to end on. It's never too late to join the right side. It's never too late to be the best of humanity. It's never too late to be the candle that burns bright for a brighter, more hopeful, more altruistic future with a freer, more democratic society. One that the children can enjoy. and not spend every waking moment terrified or anxious. You can choose to be part of the good side if you just admit you were wrong. And one last thing. We ask all the time, what will it take for you to wake up? Well, what hill are you willing to die on? What line? Where's the line that you're not willing to cross? Where's the Rubicon that you're not willing to cross? What is it? What will it take for you to wake up?